Hi there, I'm Rob, I'm a smartphone filmmaker, and today I'm talking about all things low light filmmaking with smartphones for interior shots. So we're going to look at how even though with this small sensor that barely gets any light in it in nighttime shots, that we can actually still get some really great footage if we know how to use the lighting. So I'm going to talk about close-ups with low light filming, as well as wides and some more B-roll type shots that we can mix into our stories as well. Now, big news, the guys at Mobile Creator Podcast, Glenn and Courtney, invited me on for a chat about smartphone filmmaking. So please do check that out. I'll put a link for that in the description below so you can listen to that or watch it on their YouTube channel. Subscribe to their podcast, subscribe to their channel. Really great guests every week. They've had 14 episodes out so far, and each one of them had so many gems that I've learned from. So really do check them out and listen to that podcast that I'm on as well. Now, let's get on with low light filmmaking with your smartphone and how to do it and achieve great footage. Okay, so the first thing you want to look at when you're doing low light shooting with interior shots on the smartphones is your settings. So here on FilmIC Pro, I've got my shutter speed, which you can see there, which is 1/50 instead of 1/48. The reason being is in the UK and I believe in the rest of Europe, the light frequency is slightly different to the rest of the world. So if you put your frames per second at 25 frames per second and shoot at 1/50 shutter speed, then that will give you the motion blur you need for professional looking films. And also it'll just match up and gives you that 180 rule, so you're doubling the frames per second and you don't get the rippling of lights going down the screen. So if you're ever filming outside or you're out somewhere and you're trying to shoot a film and the light's rippling, it's because the light frequency is clashing with your frames per second and shutter speed ratio. So you'll need to adjust that to most likely what I have here, 25 frames per second with a 1/50 shutter speed. Now going into the rest of the settings, if you go into the different modes you can shoot in, you got natural, which is fine. You got natural. You got log v2, which I find you get just too much noise in the shadows, although it doesn't look too bad here. But I always just feel the safe bet is to go with flat. So if you go with flat, you might not have as much detail in the light there, but I feel like you get slightly noisy footage when you get it back. And if you haven't got noise reduction software like I have, then it's tricky to kind of get that detail back and fix it. So I go with flat, as it just feels a bit of a safer option for me. So I go back to flat. Yep, it's all locked in. White balance, you make sure that's all set. Lock that, beautiful. And now we want to get the focus. So we're going to change the focus on the right hand side dial here. Now all I'm using here is practical lighting. If I turn this off, this is it. All the light now is coming from the practical light. So pretty clear picture here, and it's a low light situation, but because you got the camera fairly close to the subject and your ISO down, we're filming in 4K, so that can be edited and cropped into your editing software without losing any resolution or clarity of picture. And if we bring the ISO up, you can bring it up to 100 and be pretty safe with your footage. So 98 there. If you're above that, you'll start to see the noise just gets worse and worse and worse in the picture. If you look at the wall there and the curtains in the background, it's really horrible for the picture. So if you bring it right down to about 100, that looks pretty good to me. And if you bring it right down to the bottom for my phone, an iPhone 6s, that takes down to 23. That looks quite good as well. That feels a bit more cozy. And what you can also do is if you want a lighter picture but keeping the ISO down, you can use an external light. So I've got my Falcon IF7, or Falcon Light, sorry. Falcon F7 pocket light, should I say. And I've matched the light to the light that's in the lamp, so the color temperature is the same. So I turn this on, as is here, and I take this out of shot. It now looks like that light is coming from the lamp. So this is another way you can use motivated light. So motivated light is basically using extra light to accentuate a practical light that's already in shot. So we've got the lamp here, and if we turn the light down slightly, that's better. So the lamp wasn't too overexposed on the sides. The underside here, this area, is overexposed, and we can't actually get the ISO any lower. So we just have to live with that. But if you put the light further up, look how much clearer that is now, and you get a bit more light on the background. You can also, if you turn this light off, I'll show you the difference between the two. So that's off. And you may want to use that instead, particularly if you're doing something, maybe a horror film, something like that, where it's quite mysterious and the background's quite dark. But maybe it's a bit more of a comedy or a romantic film and things are a bit lighter. You can light up a lot more of the room. And if you use an external light like this, then, and it can be any LED light, it can be any cheap light you got in the house, to be honest, as long as it matches the light of the practical light that you're using, then it looks absolutely fantastic. And that's a really good way, so I'll turn it off now, that's a really good way to add more light in and keep your ISO down. So if you have a practical light in shot like this lamp and then punctuate it with another light that's just behind it, without creating too many crazy shadows, this is a really good technique for getting a really clear picture in low light. And all you have to do is add an extra light as well, and you'll get a much clearer picture. So it's really simple. I'll use some other techniques to show you now as well, so you can see exactly what other ways you can use your camera and lighting to create low light excellence. Now, you're not always going to have close-ups, obviously. So in this one, we've got a wider shot of the bed. And if we imagine there's two people in this bed or something, a couple scene, and you're going to light this in a way that will give us enough light that is clear, but also it's dim enough and dark enough that it passes as nighttime. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the lights off so you can see exactly how it looks without the light. And as you imagine, it's pretty damn dark. So if we turn the first lamp on, that's our starting point. So we turn the second lamp on. Beautiful. And already it's starting to look quite nice, but we want to get more light in there because the faces of the cast are not going to be quite as clear as we want. So I'm going to use the Falcon F7 pocket light again. And I'll be using the diffuser that comes with it. And if I put this above, similar to what we did in the last shot, lovely. So you can see it looks light, but it's not so light that it feels like there's more light than those two lamps. It feels like those lights are actually giving off all of the light. Alternatively, you can bring it below, but then you can have an issue with the shadows. So you want to kind of bring it maybe just below the camera, or like it is here, just above the camera. So that way you've got the two lights, and they're practical lights, so you're getting a good amount of light from them, and you've got this light. As you can see, the ISO is at basically 100. So if we show you this with all three lights that we're using currently, the two practicals and the LED light I have here, if we bring the ISO right down to its minimum, considerably darker, although the picture is really clear. And if you keep your ISO really, really low, that gives you a clear picture. So it depends on what kind of things you're willing to sacrifice to get the picture you want. Now, to recap on the low light rules, number 1 is to keep the light source close to the face or subject that you're filming, so it's nice and clear. Number 2, use motivated light if you need to. So put an extra light that's the same color temperature as the practical light you're using, and that follows into number 3, which is matching the color temperatures of your motivated light to practical lights in shot, so that it doesn't look like you've got multiple types of lighting that are in and out of shot. It makes it a bit confusing. And keep your ISO number 4 as low as possible to reduce on-screen noise, and that goes for outdoors in light filming too. Now, another technique you can use is a silhouette. So whether it's a horror film or whatnot, you can have really nice moments where you got the outline of a figure in the doorway, light behind, and it creates this real kind of mysterious feel, and the tension builds as well, and you can have a really kind of horror moment like this. Chills down my spine. Now the next shot here, you can see if you're going for more B-roll as well, nighttime, you can maybe have close-ups of lights and things going past. You can have something maybe grabbing it and walking off if there's something next to the light. And remember, you can have different sort of speeds of movement as well to create different moods. Thank you so much for joining me on this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've learned anything from this video, then do hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, so this channel continues to grow. Now remember, when you're low light filmmaking with smartphones for interior shots, it's all about punching in more light than you think you need. Your eyes will see a lot more than the lens on your camera, as the sensor is so small. So do remember where the light's coming from, how that you're using motivated light with the practical lights that are in shot, so you can accentuate those lights and make everything a bit more bright and clear. So thank you for watching, guys. Take care, hit that subscribe button, like button, all the good stuff. See you next time. Bye bye.